first question. Given the possibility for vacancies within the upcoming executive board, how will you delegate and balance the tasks required of the other roles you may have to take up?
I think what really helped me this year was the whole Summer Apprentice program. Although I didn't get to shadow every position on board, I was able to gauge a sense of how board operates and how each officer operates. And so I would take those lessons that I learned from the Summer Apprentice program, as well as the ABLE program, and apply it to my role in fulfilling those vacancies on board. I also personally believe that if you're passionate about something, it'll never feel like a job to you. So it really isn't a burden at all to support this board and this organization.
Your second question, with this year being the mandated review of the Constitution and bylaws, what are some changes that you would make to the Constitution to keep up with the newer generations of Samahan members?
So, although this has been my first year, I can see when y'all at board talk about how the current Constitution isn't fitting to our changes and our ideals as like the next generation of Samahan. So first and foremost, like the language of the Constitution as well as the format. Of course, like being more inclusive using the Filipinx terms as opposed to Filipino, Filipina. Also the format, we are ever evolving and we want to really establish ourselves as a prestigious and an important organization. So the format of that will really help if we change it to be more modern and more sleek.
Your last question for me, in what ways do you see yourself supporting your executive board if elected?
So once again, being in the Summer Apprentice program helped me interact with current board members. Even though I'm already on e-board, I got to really sit down with them and ask what are the difficulties in being your position and what has been your biggest struggle this year as an e-board member, and just ask those questions that aren't really covered when you just introduce yourself as an e-board member at a GBM. And I really gained an understanding of like the struggles of being on board as well as being a student. Also with having all of these different extracurriculars. And so I think it really goes back to the idea of pakiramdam. Like the way Joel Jacinto described it was finding yourself in the other person and putting yourself in those shoes. And that's one of the qualities and the values that I want to implement as vice chairperson.
Okay, this is going to be your first audience question. If a conflict were to arise between executive board members, general members, or a mix of the two, how would you approach a resolution?
So, like I stated in my speech, I would want to create this environment where people, not just e-board, but like everyone, every single member is comfortable in voicing their opinions and their concerns. I think preventing that rather than like having it get worse, or just like thinking about the problem before it arises is really effective. Also, it's really important to get both sides. I took a conflict resolution class once, and they really emphasized the importance of talking to that person one-on-one. And I really saw that this year with the student advisors when they had their spring one-on-ones. And this really works with board because sometimes board members don't feel comfortable voicing what they're concerned about to top four. And it really helps to be able to talk with somebody that is approachable, more approachable. Not that saying that anyone else in e-board isn't approachable, but like the fact that we know that we can go to this person and all that information that we give to them is confidential, and that's really important.
Okay, and this will be your second audience question. Chairperson and vice chairperson are known to have one of the closest working relationships within the organization. How will you ensure that you are both on the same page and working together in the best interests of AP Samoa?
Like previously stated, it's really important to be passionate about the job that you have, to carry, not to carry an entire board, but to oversee an entire board. That takes passion, and you really need to go back to why you're doing this and why it's so important to you. Because if you don't have a purpose, then you have nothing. And so, yeah. Sorry. I'm trying to relate it. So, I believe what I've stated in my speech will be shared with the rest of EPORT, not just like my chairperson, because we all know what our pillars are. We all know what our mission is, and it's a matter of realizing what that is and what that means to our alumni, to our current members, to our future members, and that will get us on the same page.